Hello and welcome to this special edition of the Alternative Exit, live from the Employee Ownership Conference in Telford in the UK. And this has been brought to you by EOT Expert by Christian Wilson. So just imagine you've sold your business to an EOT and are now happily retired, spending your tax incentivized money when HMRC or the taxman knocks on your door to ask for the full repayment of your capital gains tax due on the sale. A trust, which is a huge pain. I mean, a trustee at your old company has just resigned and the team innocently but improperly accepted the resignation, inadvertently triggered a disqualifying event. This is a nightmare scenario. The truth is, running an EOT is not simple. From appointing trustees to managing the trust registers to keeping on top of all the annual one-off filings. One small mistake can be painfully expensive. This is where EOT Expert by Christian Wilson step in. His EOT Assured service keeps you compliant and confident with clear guidelines, templates and tailored support, whether you need a one-off transaction, support or ongoing retainer. Christian can even help you set up compliant bonus structures to ensure that your staff are getting the rewards that they deserve. So if you're looking to make a transition to an EOT or have already established an employee ownership trust that wants peace of mind and proper governance, reach out to Christian at eotexpert.co.uk for technical expertise that's reassuringly human. Hello again and welcome back to the Alternative Exit live from the Employee Ownership Association conference here in Telford. Today, we're joined by, I guess, sort of almost British royalty in terms of employee ownership. J Gadd has been a long-time contributor to the space, first through his own company, Gadd Associates, and you've recently partnered with Telos, with a big focus on supporting companies through the cultural transition to really feel ownership. Jeremy, welcome to the Alternative Exit.
Brilliant. Thank you. Good to be back.
Yeah. So, mate, love to learn a little bit more about, what drew you to the space of employee ownership initially?
So I've a lifetime in it. So I started off at John Lewis when I was 18 in a job creation scheme back in the early 80s. Worked my way right the way through into the senior leadership team. Had the opportunity of redundancy 12 years ago. And kind of wanted to do a bit more in that space.
I love it how you had the opportunity of redundancy.
Well, it is, yeah. That's what it is. So it's how you take it, I suppose. Isn't it?
Yeah.
And so did some research, spoke to a few people in the space, people like Robert Postlethwaite.
Yeah.
Graham Nuttall was incredibly helpful and kind of reflected. And I said, look, part of my role in John Lewis was to help to secure a really great engagement and to report back independently to chairman on what was working well and where we could make it even better. Nobody seemed to be looking at that outside of the partnership back then. And with the 2014 Finance Act coming in that started the drive and momentum behind this, there's a lot of legal and financial advice, but what they call the soft skills, or what people then say is the hard stuff, is how do you make it work? How do you bring that to life? And that's where I started off, and then merged with Telos at the beginning of this year, because they're about creating long-term sustainable value. And what we do in Telos is make quite sure that businesses have a culture that encourages leadership to be the best they can and to lead everybody into collective aim for the long sustainable future.
Yeah.
So business with purpose.
So you talked about how there was an existing ecosystem of people who are out there for the financial side of the transaction, sort of legal and accounting, and you're obviously looking to be able to plug a gap. I still see that there's a very big focus in both owners' mindsets and also in the service providers to heavily index on the transaction, on that singular event, rather than that ongoing work to drive that cultural change. I mean, is that something you experience?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think, if you want to look at an ecosystem, how it works, follow the money. So where do the big checks get paid out? And that's where you'll see a lot of the focus and attention. And the transaction is a modular change. So you're changing from one ownership to the other. And in most cases, that will require legal support, unless you're very clever or got family friends. You wouldn't do this sort of thing on your own. You wouldn't want to get it wrong.
Yeah.
And that's why when we're working with organisations, we have certain people we partner with to recommend, because they know what they're doing. Whereas everything else is discretionary. So how you want to build...
The conference is now resumed. So please make your way back to your seats.
There we go.
So how you want to build your culture, how you want to ensure that your leadership are leading employee owners rather than employees. How does your strategy get implemented through owners?
Yeah.
How do you develop your leaders of the future? But you're doing it always through the lens of ownership rather than just the employees. And it's so broad. And in fact, I've learned so much over the last 12 years, really, just about all the things that are implemented. I'm always slightly concerned when people say, oh, nothing really changes. And the business can remain the same to start
Yeah.
with, but actually, surely you're looking for discretionary effort. You want the business to get even better. It's the ownership that I mean, fundamentally, employee ownership as an EOT is just an ownership model.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's just a corporate structure.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we can get very excited about it. It's just a structure. What's exciting, I think, is the stuff that I and some of my colleagues do, which is that how do you lever that advantage? How do you get people to shift the mindset that actually not only do they believe this is theirs, but they will get the benefit from the business doing well? That's really exciting. And
Yeah.
that's, you know, that's an ongoing challenge for organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. But it's also where the big impact is.
Yeah.
I mean, you talked on one side, like, hey, follow the money. I mean, there is a sort of the joke, why don't you just charge more? That way you can follow the money towards the cultural side. But it's also the value isn't created at the transaction. The value is created with this work that you're doing. And it's tough. I mean, as I said, it's intangible. It's emotional.
Yeah.
And how do you convince people that this is the right investment for people who've come on it from a transactional perspective? Like, how do you convince them to invest on this side of the business?
That's a really good question. I think the way that we approach it is with curiosity.
Yeah.
So we're not about to tell an organization how to run their business.
Yeah.
We are multi-sectoral. We have financial businesses. We've had undertakers. We've had urban animation, so creatives. So they're all run very differently. We're not there to tell them how to run their business, but what we're doing is asking questions built on years of experience to make them think about actually how are we going to do this? And the more that you can demonstrate the value that you can bring, and then start to equate that into, well, let's just measure this, you know, and predict how much change you can make by really engaging people.
Yeah.
Then that becomes an investment decision like any other investment decision. And of course it's discretionary, like marketing or training or anything. So we're competing against other providers.
Yeah.
And it's up to us really to ensure that we find the people who can see that value
Yeah.
and are happy to invest in it. And that I think is growing.
Yeah.
I mean, when I started, nobody was doing this. And people said it was a bit strange. Why are you doing this? We now have competitors. I think that's brilliant because if you've got competitors, you've got a market. So it's less about saying you should be considering this as to this is why we believe ours is a compelling offer and a compelling proposition.
Yeah. What's your quick win when you
The conference is now resuming. So
There we
please
go.
make your way back to your seats.
So when you have that first engagement with the customer, I still maybe a little bit skeptical, still not willing to sign on for a bigger engagement. How do you go in and get a quick win?
So I think I don't know if we do get a quick win.
Okay, yeah, the space is tough to create quick wins.
I think, I mean, I've had a client, we're at the conference, and I've had a client who came back to me 5 years after we met at conference, phoned me up and said, could you give me a quote? And I thought, hang on a minute, I've probably added a couple of noughts on since we last spoke. So, but I think it's not about a quick win. This is about us building a genuine long-term relationship and in investing in that. And if it means that we have to kiss a few frogs on the way, so be it. Let's have conversations and define the people for whom really understand what they are trying to achieve, even if they don't know how to get there. We can help them get there. But actually, it's having that meaningful conversation about what is it you really want to achieve from becoming an EO business.
Yeah.
And there are three key kind of stakeholders within that. There's themselves as sellers, it's the business, and it's the employees. You've also got the customers as well, as to what but that will vary massively depending on what market they're in, as to how important becoming EO is to their customer base. If you're in a commodity market, probably not very well, although hopefully you'll make a better product more quickly because people are engaged, might be a stretch for some.
Yeah.
So it depends. So really understanding the client and understanding the market they're in. And then we can help them start to create and navigate what we call the narrative for change. So what is it you're trying to achieve by becoming employee owned? And I think, you know, we can within about an hour, we will or the client will recognize whether actually, yes, there is some value here.
Yeah.
And if there is, we can continue the conversation. If not, well, we've had a great conversation.
Okay.
We're curious and interested in business, so it's never a wasted time.
Yeah, totally. So it sounds like the trust is built just through curiosity.
Yeah.
And sort of understanding a little bit more to and getting mutual alignment.
Yeah.
Yeah, super cool. Awesome. And so when you think about the key elements of what the work that you're going to do in an organization, what are the core elements that you think need present to be able to drive this ownership culture?
I think you've got to have people who are prepared to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
I think you've got to have people who are prepared to be open. You've got to have people who are prepared to take risks and get things wrong. And I think you've got to have people who are genuinely in this for the long term.
Mhm.
One of the biggest challenges we find with a lot of the businesses we work with is that owners, and particularly entrepreneurial owners who've built their business, know everything about it.
Yeah.
And they and their teams expect them to have all the answers. And you're taking them somewhere where you're building some vulnerability in to encourage them to say, we don't have all the answers. I'm really skeptical when you sometimes hear people say, yeah, you can have a fully polished presentation to everybody. And I think, well, what's in it for them then? Surely the clue's in the name, it's employee owned.
Yeah.
Actually create the format and opportunity for people to help shape what that is. We're really clear that leadership will make the ultimate decision. But actually, if we're going to have, say, an employee voice or a partner voice or a council or forum, don't give them a ready-made model.
Yeah.
Give them the opportunity to co-create it with you that aligns with your culture.
Yeah, I love that. So then I was just trying to think about, so what is, and a couple of examples of really tactical ways in which people have brought employee voice to life.
Okay, well, I can think of one. We had a client that was they were a community interest company,
Hmm.
and they provided an amazing service to very vulnerable people. And every year they paid a very small bonus as a kind of thank you. It was a few pounds. It wasn't a massive amount of money. And actually, their voice group had a consultation, voted, and actually said, "We don't come here for the money. We
Yeah.
don't want that. We want that to go into better patient care." And that is
Wow.
incredibly,
Yeah.
incredibly powerful. And I've seen voice groups wrestle with some really challenging conversations about redundancy and about, how people are being selected or whether they're even getting enough.
Yeah.
And really helping the leadership to create the right conversation and the right environment in which to make tough decisions, both by challenging and also understanding. You're challenged to understand rather than to confront.
Yeah. No, I love that framing. And what are some of the biggest, like, when you're brought into a company that's made the transition, they haven't done the pre-work with you. What is the sort of the biggest mistake that you see in those organisations when they're in terms of engaging their team?
So again, I don't know if there's one big mistake. We tend to get bought in because we'll be said it's not working, they don't get it.
Yeah.
So what we want to know is what's the it and who are the they? And actually, we then go back to what was your narrative for change?
Mhm.
What was the reason for it? How did you engage people? And it's not to blame.
Yeah.
We are where we are, and things are done with good intent. But it's really to get back and say, do you really understand what it is that isn't working? And sometimes we'll just go in and they'll say, well, we don't really know what people think. So the first thing we'll do is we'll just work with people,
Yeah.
and almost do a gap analysis. So this is what senior leadership think employee ownership is. This is what the employees and the managers think it is. And then you've just got choices.
Yep.
I'd like to say it's really complicated, but you get your data right, you have your conversations, you then got choices.
Yep.
About actually, and very often we find that employee owners can be more ambitious than the leadership team. And that's maybe because they're possibly a bit naive and don't know so much, but that's great.
Which can be right. Yeah.
Or actually they can be a little bit more pessimistic because they don't know what's possible. But it gives you a broad conversation. If you create the space for good conversation and you go in with curiosity, in our experience, most of the solutions lie within the business, which is why we don't come with ready-made solutions. We come with the ability to facilitate those conversations, bring in our experience to help them create the right solutions for their business.
Yeah.
That's what makes it exciting.
Yeah.
That's why every project is new and interesting.
So, like, you're coming with a process. You're coming with some steps that you like to follow, and the outcome is wherever it goes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, super exciting. Sounds like an engaging way to come in every day.
It is good.
Now, I'm mindful that there's a keynote, the final closing keynote's on now. I want to allow you to get up there, but before we go, I ask people 3 quick questions. Are you game?
Go for it.
Okay. Who is the leader that you most admire in employee ownership?
Leader that I most admire in employee ownership. I think that would be hard to choose one. Mainly because we might have some of our clients listening. But I think, let's be topical. I mean, last night Anne got her
amazing.
Lifetime
Anne
Achievement
Tyler.
Award, Anne Tyler, and fantastic. And sometimes a lot in the organisations we work with, there are a lot of unsung heroes.
Yeah.
And leadership can be anywhere. Doesn't necessarily be the person at the top.
Okay. Second question is, what is your favourite resource on employee ownership?
It'll be our website.
Tell us.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. You're allowed to talk your own book. Okay. And then finally, what do you say to a business owner who's sitting on the fence regarding a transition to an EO model?
What is it you want?
clean and simple. Love it. Jeremy, thank you so much for joining. Where can people go if they want to learn more about you and follow your story?
Come to me or link in with me,
Yep.
or join us through our Telos website.
Brilliant. There'll be some link in the show notes for you as well. Jeremy, thanks for joining us in the Alternative Exit.
Thanks. Nice to see you again.
You
Cheers.
too.
Thank you.
Cheers, mate.